Welcome to Who's Your Mother podcast, where we discover who we are as souls and mothers through Reiki, spirituality, and healing. Hi, I'm Carolina, your host and Reiki Master. I'm so very excited you're here today, and let's get started. Welcome to Who's Your Mother podcast. I'm Carolina, your Reiki Master and host, and today we have a very special guest. Her name is Stephanie, and she is a dear person and friend close to my heart. And we're going to be discussing conceiving after one Reiki session. One, because that's my story and hers. So she's currently pregnant, and also her Reiki journey, because she is a Reiki certified Reiki practitioner. So Stephanie, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I am Stephanie. Kind of a little bit about my journey is I actually met with Carolina even before we started and talked about pregnancy. It's probably been 5 years, I think now. And I was just going for just kind of just overall health. I had Carolina was my very first Reiki session, and instantly I knew I found my Reiki master. Like there was no question in my mind. And then
that's when I was doing in-person sessions in the chiropractor office.
Yes. And I remember, and I giggle because I didn't realize how off I was just in life in general. And I remember I told you that when we very first started, I laid on the table and I was like, I feel like the table's off balance. And you're like, no, I promise you, you're like, it's level. And I just always felt like I was just gonna like roll off. And by the time I was done, like I was even. And like it was so crazy how quickly in just that one session, like I balanced, or you were able to balance me again. And something I didn't even realize I was so off balance from.
I remember our early sessions, and it was when I was first discovering that I was a medium.
Yes.
That I could channel. And I was so scared, but my mentors were like, you have to start somewhere, you have to practice. So if you're inclined to, if something comes to you in a Reiki session and you feel their guides are there, and even like just feeling their guides was still something new to me. I remember like one of our sessions, I had given you a message and I was like, you were so silent. And I was like, okay, there, I did it. I'm a goner. She's not coming back. I was totally off. And I didn't hear from you for a couple of months. And then you came back, and it was like this you could book my sessions online. And then you came back and you had explained and it validated the message. And in those 2 months, I had been like rolling in my head, and I had like stopped giving messages. And literally when you came back, it was like, boom, it's on. So I was right. And I was just like, oh, you were so important in my journey as a spiritual person and medium. You were so critical in those early days for me.
Well, and I remember so vividly, like when you first talked to me about like, hey, like I want to teach you Reiki. And I was so hesitant. I was like, I don't think I've got this. I don't think I've got this. And afterwards, like I don't practice other than just like on myself. Like if I go to the dentist, because I'm scared to death of dentists and stuff, like
goodness, the dentist is the worst.
It has helped me so much. I remember when, probably totally TMI, sorry, but like when I went to get my IUD removed one time, like they couldn't get it out. And they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh no, I'm totally fine, because I was putting Reiki on myself. Like I was not feeling any of that pain. And they're like, are you sure you're fine? I'm like, I promise you I'm fine. Just do what you got to do. Get it out. But it was like, once I realized like I could help protect myself, like a light went off. And it was such an amazing like concept that they were like, how are you dealing with this pain? And I genuinely wasn't feeling it at all.
My IUD removed, I passed out. They woke me up with smelling salts, literally.
And I normally am not somebody who can deal with pain, and they told me it might hurt. And so I'm like, okay, I mentally prepared myself. I was going to Reiki myself so that I didn't feel it. And I walked out of there and they're just like, what is wrong with you? Like, this is not you. And I'm like, nothing, I'm good. I just kind of walked out because I'm like, I don't need to go into all this with them. But And so like I do it like for my kiddos, like if they're having a rough day or whatever, like we're cuddling on the couch. So like I'm thankful that you like saw that I was somebody that could do it and like you were willing to teach me. Um, Two of my favorite memories of you.
Oh goodness.
First,
Okay.
I remember shortly before I met my husband, I had messaged you and I was just in a really rough place.
This
I
was
had
during
kind
the
of,
pandemic, right? This is early
yes,
pandemic. So
like
this was
very,
2020.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
And I had messaged you and I'm like, hey, I saw you were booked. Like, I really need Reiki. I know I need it. And you're like, of course, like we'll figure it out. And I didn't say anything. And all of a sudden you were replying back to me with everything I was going through, like to a T. Like even now, like I'm literally getting goosebumps just like even talking about it. And like, I've struggled like with dating and relationships and all that fun stuff. And I will never forget. My husband and I were literally just talking about this yesterday. That you kept telling me, you're like, this person is coming. This is like, these are all the characteristics of them. Single dad, two boys of his own, complete and polar opposite of anything that I would normally be attracted to and go after. And I remember my very first date with my husband, and I was like, I feel like I know this person without knowing them. And then like I called you like shortly after we gone on like a date or something, and you're like, you're gonna marry him. And I'm like, no, I'm not. What are you talking about? You're like, no, you're going to marry him. And I was
I
like,
remember this at the very pandemic. I had closed my in-person Reiki practice because I just didn't want to do like I think at that point I had done too much and I was burnt out, like working that and running my business. I was still working full time. And you had come, and because since we were so close, I was like, come to my house.
Yep.
This was a little bit later. And I was like, and you were going to go meet him after. And I
Yes.
was like, yeah, I remember this. It was like after Ollie had gone to bed. And yeah, because normally I don't do sessions in my house, but
Yeah.
local and your longtime friend.
Yes. And it was so funny because I was just like, no. And then you also told me, you're like, you're going to have another baby with this man. And I'm like,
Oh,
no,
yes.
I'm
You were
not.
telling me to
Like,
fly a kite.
I was just convinced I was done because he has two kids from a previous relationship. I have two kids. I'm like, I'm getting older. No, I don't want to do this.
You're like,
So,
5. What? What am I going to do
right.
with 5?
That's what I think every day. But I remember
The womb was not
like
done.
we had a conversation, and I remember when I told you that Daniel and I were engaged. And you're like, I told you this was happening. And I was like,
And
oh my
just
God.
for the disclaimer, I'm normally not I told you person, but like I was totally like, thanks for the validation, chick.
Yes.
Thanks,
And
friends.
you read me better than I've ever been read before. Like I've had other people read me before, and I'm like, no, but I almost take what you tell me like verbatim, because I don't think there has ever been a single thing that did not happen like the way you explained it to me. Maybe timing was off because of course like that like changes things, but like you have pretty much been able to like say, okay, this is what's going to happen. And my husband was very open to kiddos. I was like, no, like I don't think so, like we've got 4, like I'm getting older, I don't know if I want to do this. And I remember when I kind of had that light switch, maybe we should try, like we'll have this, we're going to have we're not actively trying, we're not actively preventing, if it happens, it happens. And I remember you had randomly reached out to me just to check in and see how things are going. And I was like, you knew, didn't you? It was like you could sense that like I was going to be coming to you shortly.
I remember that day because it was a really strange day because I was stuck in traffic on the way to get Ollie. It was across town. And normally what would take me 30 minutes took me an hour and 20 minutes because there was really bad accidents on the interstate.
Yep.
And I think I was using Surrey to text and safety first.
Yeah.
And I messaged you. I don't know if I messaged or called. I think I texted you.
You text me first. Yeah.
And like, it's funny. I think the reason why I'm so attuned to you is one of our depth of our relationship, into that I kind of, because you have this special bond, like when you are a Reiki master to a Reiki student, there's, but particularly with you, it's very special. It's very deep. Your guides are really connect with my guides, and that's how I'm able to do it so well. It's not intentional.
Right.
Because when you focus on it and you try to make it work, it never does. But when it's
100%.
spontaneous, that means it's like authentic. And that day, my guide said, call, text Stephanie to see how she's doing. And that's when I don't, I don't know what happened next, but I just remember we connected, and then you got another Reiki session. I think that's what happened.
Yes, because I had told you that I was like, okay, I'm planning on taking my IUD out. And you were just like, oh, I saw this coming. Like I've been telling you that there's going to be another baby coming.
Your womb wasn't done. That's
No.
the thing is like, I can see inside people's wombs, and like they're, so like people have like ancestors, past loved ones, like angels that will talk, spirit guides, but the womb talks too, and also the other baby. But your womb was like almost saying like, I'm ready for the next one, where there will be another one. So, and when that happens, but in the way that it's communicated, I can tell if it's like going to be a forceful soul that comes through, meaning like you're either going to surrender to this, and I'm coming forcefully, like the soul on the other side, or it's a soul that will say, okay, if the mom and dad say no more, and the dad gets a vasectomy, mom is on birth control, and they take measures to block it, then the soul's not going to come through.
Right.
It's either yes, I'm coming, or maybe if you decide to have a third or whatever, it'll come through. This one was a Hail Mary. Like this one was like, this one was coming.
Yes. And so I told you, and you're like, okay, we need to book a session. And I'm like, done. I'm totally game, because it was a different session than we had done previously. Because it was specifically talking about and dealing with like my trauma from my boys' relationship with their dad, things like that, and working on healing it. And like, it's something that I will constantly, I think probably always have to work on healing with him. But that was my biggest like setback and thing that was holding me from really 100% committing to like, this is what I want to have another child. And I remember, I think it was probably 48 hours between when I had my session and we actually conceived a little bit. And I hadn't told anyone. The only person I had told that we were going to kind of start trying this journey, because I didn't want a lot of pressure there. And I didn't want, like, if it didn't happen, like any concerns. And you told me, you're like, no, I think it's happening very soon. And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember I had one period after I got my IUD removed, worst period of my entire life. I literally told my husband, I don't think I can do this. I need to go get my IUD. I'm not an adult enough to do this. And literally the next month, I wasn't even late. I just woke up one morning and I was like, I'm going to take a test. And I took a test. It was positive, and I was scared to death. I was like, whoa, I wasn't thinking it was happening this soon. Again, that day, you messaged me and reached out. Again, just a total random check-in. And I was like, I was so excited to like share with somebody that like I knew would understand. And I was like, you are never going to believe this, but I literally took a test this morning.
I was on a walk with the dogs and I was screaming. I was outside on the nature path. Yep. And I started screaming, and my neighbors were like, what the fuck? Like,
yes. And I remember the first thing was like, okay, we need to get a in-person Reiki session, like for baby. And so like, I personally am so excited. Like, I literally cannot wait, because we booked it for on my birthday. And I'm so excited for you to be able to connect with Lil Bit. Just because like, I want her to have that same bond with you that I do. And I know it's there.
Oh, I love it. My favorite part of my job, besides helping mom conceive the babies, but also is like the relationship that you can have before you conceive, while you're pregnant. You don't have to wait until they come out of you to start the relationship. Like, and you don't have to wait until your belly is like round and big. Like, you can start as soon as like I remember I was pregnant with Ollie because Ollie wasn't my first pregnancy. Um, and I told Ryan actually on that Easter Sunday, I was like, because normally the pre Ollie, pre-pregnancy of Ollie, I would wake up and I was Energizer Bunny. Like I didn't need caffeine and I didn't drink much coffee. I just drank Coke. And I would be good for the rest of the day. I was like ready to go as soon as I opened my eyes. But that day, that Sunday, I was supposed to go to Easter. He was still mad at me. I didn't go to Easter service. And I said, I think I'm pregnant. And he goes, why? I was like, because this feels different. My body is different. This is a level of tired I've only felt once before. And yeah. So yes, I can't. And this, so you said her, and just because I know you, can you tell me about your other babies? They're boys, right? So now you're going to be a girl mom.
Yes. So it's exciting and scary all at the same time.
I love it.
Because between my husband and I, we have 4 boys. So it's exciting, but also I feel like we kind of know what we're doing. Like we've kept the boys alive. So like we're good there. So it's a little bit of a combination. I will say that pregnancy wise, they've been polar opposite. With my boys, I literally got fat and ate everything I wanted. With her, it's been total opposite. I had really bad morning sickness. It's
gonna be
like to the point like I would stand up, and just the difference between sitting down or sitting and standing, like I would just get motion sick. And I again was able to use my Reiki so that I wasn't having to go the traditional medical route and like get medication, because I was like, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah.
I was scared to death pretty much her entire pregnancy until I really started physically feeling her move and like seeing her move, just because I'd had late term miscarriages before.
Right.
And you know, until you like physically see her move, it's like, okay, is it in my head or did that really happen?
I think babies moving in the stomach is so surreal. It's like,
yes,
someone told me once, is it like an alien moving inside you? I was like, kind of.
100%. Absolutely.
I just remember Ollie's foot. I would lay in, I took so many baths when I was pregnant. I like lived in the bathtub.
Yes.
And it eased so much pain. And I had so much bad round ligament pain. Like that just never went away for me. And I just would soak. His foot would protrude across my skin. I think I have one video. I didn't do a lot of video and pictures during my pregnancy, but I have one of his foot sticking out. And I was just like, is this something out of a movie?
Because there's nothing to prepare you for it. And then you're like, whoa, what is going on? This is weird.
I miss the feeling of them kicking inside though. It's like, but I missed, I don't know. I don't know. I really did enjoy the last part of my pregnancy, not the beginning. The beginning was really rough for me.
Yes.
But I love the movements inside, but I would burp all the time. It was gross.
My problem is, like I said, this pregnancy has been so different. And I correlate it to it's a girl versus boys, as well as I also think part of it is just like my age. So I always correlated everything to my age. Like, oh, they're different because of my age. So I was convinced that she was a boy because, I mean, odds are in our favor at this point. We have 4 boys already. And you said, no, I don't think it is. And I'm like, no, I really think it's a boy. And you're like, no, it's not a boy. So until we had like our blood draw and did like the gender reveal, like I was 100% convinced in my mind, even though, and it was one of those like, I trusted everything you said, but I didn't want to get my hopes up that it was a girl, even though you told me, no, it's a girl, honey. Like, I promised you. So when I got those results,
I used to get gender wrong a lot. That was the one thing that I could never get right. So, but I've gotten better in the past year.
Yes. And I remember because we had found out like on a Saturday, and like on that Monday, we still weren't telling anybody, but you had again randomly text me. And like, I was like, so you know, don't you? And you're like, yes, but I need you to like, I want you to tell me too. And I'm like, it's a girl. You were right.
I get cocky about it sometimes. I like tell my husband, I was like, just letting you know you're married to a boss babe, but not MLM style, just a medium one, mediumship extraordinaire. Guessing baby's genders over here.
I love it. But I mean, the pregnancies themselves have been very different. There was also a lot of not really trauma, but just like not good, healthy relationships with my past, like with my kiddo's dad. And I remember in that Reiki session that we had right before I conceived, you kept telling me, like, you can't punish Daniel for things that have happened in the past. Like, you just can't do that. That's not fair. Like, he's not going to be this way. And I remember like
going session, we were trying to make your womb disconnect the trauma and release the trauma of the past pregnancies so that you would have an opportunity to enjoy this one. Yes. Because your cellular memory, and that's what we did the Karuna Reiki for, was to release the old trauma that was stored in the cells so that you can then have an opportunity to enjoy this pregnancy and also feel safe with your partner, because you're married now. Not that married makes a difference, because you can be in a toxic marriage, but like you had found the person that you had wanted to be with, the person that you had waited for, and had, you had gone through so much just to get to this point to embrace and be in this like healthy relationship that you had worked so hard for and sought for so many years. And you were ready. Like, yes. you were ready to release it. You were ready, because you have to be ready to heal. You have to be ready to let go. And you have to be willing to not only do that in the method or modality that you're trying to heal with, but then all the things that come after that. There has to be changes in the way you communicate. There has to be changes that you're being open and vulnerable with your partner. There has to be a change in listening styles that are respectful. There has to be a certain safety and security that you bring to your partner to be their safe space that they can reciprocate and be for you. And you had done all that shadow work, all that inner work. So kudos for you.
Yeah. And it's crazy because Daniel is 100% that, like, all these characteristics that, like I said, this is what I want and need. Like, he has those.
It's so evident. It's so evident in your presence and like just your being. It's so different. You've shifted and you have like this support system that just is so clearly like your being is so much more relaxed.
Yes.
It's life-changing to watch. It's so wonderful to see you so happy.
Yes. And one thing I have not shared with you, because you had mentioned like the whole career thing. I remember that was something we'd also chatted about in my Reiki session. And all of that is coming to fruition as well.
Sometimes I don't remember. What did I say?
So one of the things that I wanted to work towards was not only like baby, but also like advancing my career. Because I had been so stuck in, I was always needing to be an individual contributor. I was afraid of leadership. Even though I've been told, no, you would be a great leader. And I just had always been kind of stuck, like, nope, that's not something that I want to do. And actually on the 1st of April, I'm going to be taking on a team lead role where I will have people are actually reporting under me. And then in June, we'll get the official like manager role, but the lovely whole corporate thing, you have to go through all the steps and all that fun stuff. But I haven't even shared that with you, that like, oh my gosh, you were able to help me get there too. Because I 100% know, like, I have to put the work in, but at the same time, like, you're able to kind of help guide me and like help me see through when I don't want to, if that makes sense.
You have such a genuine, sincere way of like showing up for people. You're going to make the most impeccable, amazing, effective leader in your company. I'm sure of it. Like, and I don't say that lightly. You have everything within you. You're so worthy of all of these great promotions and accolades. And I'm just so proud of you. You've done the work.
Thank you.
So, a little bit of like, so have you ever done your human design? Oh my gosh, we'll have to talk about that another time. But I'm a human design projector, which is like the natural healers and guiders of the world and coaches. So a lot of coaches are projectors,
Mhm.
and they're meant to like shine the light and foresee like in the nooks and crannies that others don't. So I I'm able to see the big picture a
Mhm.
lot. I think that's just one of my gifts, but I
Mhm.
am I don't know. It's been such a pleasure to watch you just just thrive and be happy and have like every single thing that
Mhm.
you had wanted from the first time we met. You're like, I just want to be, I want to feel safe. I want to feel happy. I want my boys to feel loved. I want to build a life and a home with someone
Mhm.
that appreciates me, that loves me, that is in love with me, and and just like, but have like them be your best friend too. And here you have found it, and it's just so wonderful to see another woman, but especially my friend, now expecting have all those things and then so much more, and be fulfilled with her life and be abundant, and just it's truly one of the greatest honors to see you happy. Like, just it makes me just everything comes together. So you had mentioned, so I taught you Reiki in 2018.
Yeah, that's about right. I think so.
I taught you Reiki. So what is the biggest transformation from learning Reiki that you think what is the biggest transformation in your life after learning Reiki?
I would say for me, it's this sounds horrible, but like I can be kind of a hothead. Like, and I fully acknowledge that. Like I've always known that about myself. Um, but before I would be a hothead, and I'm like, that's just how it is. Too bad, so sad. But now I feel like I see it coming more so, and I'm able like to step back from now. Pregnancy is a whole different story. My husband would tell you that. Um, Stephanie does
You
not
still
step
get
back
a
from that.
pass when you're pregnant, though. Like, you get a pass on a lot of
Right.
things. You're growing a freaking human in your
Yeah.
uterus.
But I would say that's been the biggest thing is I've been able to kind of look outside of myself in situations,
Mm,
and like look at it from a different perspective. So before I would just like, I may like snap at a situation. Whereas like now I'm like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. Like, and have a logical like discussion almost inside my own head before like reacting. And I haven't been able to do that. And like I said, like the simple fact that like I can heal myself or at least calm myself in really scary situations. So one of the biggest things that I've had to learn to deal with is just transition days for my kiddos when they go back to the other parent. I used to get such horrible anxiety and just sick to my stomach that I had to really try not to project onto the kiddos because that was not fair to them. Before that, I couldn't do that. But now I'm able to like just kind of calm myself, and like disconnect myself from it almost so that I'm not letting any situation there cause negativity on myself. Like it is what it is. I go through the situation and then afterwards, like I don't feel like I have like that huge like anxiety rush afterwards because I'm just able to manage it better now.
gotcha. And since learning Reiki, you had mentioned like since learning Reiki, what has that done in the healing that you've done impacted you as a mom?
100%. Although this pregnancy has been very different and much more difficult, I will say, I'm able to, like I said, self-manage a lot of that stuff. So, I was having lots of reflex issues. I was having lots of um, uh, like motion sickness. And I was able to like calm myself. Whereas before, I probably would have just like gotten myself all worked up in a tizzy and like made it 10 times worse. So that's been the biggest thing for me because I don't want to take any medication if I don't have to. And like Reiki has been able to allow me to not have to do that. Even before pregnancy, like depression was something that I always kind of dealt with, but with Reiki, I've been able to manage it. So I haven't needed to go on medication or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but like for me, that wasn't what I wanted. And Reiki has helped me kind of calm those nerves and like work on myself. Whereas before I would have just been like, no, I'll just go get a medication if I need to.
So Reiki has allowed you to reduce your depression and anxiety. And
Mhm.
that does that make you more present as a mom, like
Oh,
to your two boys? Like, have
yes.
you seen a difference in, I mean, because Reiki is just one part of your story. Like
Mhm.
you're also into like crystals and other spiritual things. So
Mhm.
do you find that like Reiki has empowered any of your other gifts?
So if I practice them more, probably yes. One thing that I will say is like my boys and I bond over some of those things though.
I love
Um,
that.
they are huge crystal babies. My oldest, every time I buy a new crystal, I have to buy three, one for myself and then one for the two of them. Otherwise, I lose my crystals because they take over them.
That
Um,
happens a lot in this household too. I have broken one of Minja pendulums, but it's really not me.
right,
I had a
right.
$50 pendulum and Ollie broke it. My last pendulum that I bought was a $50 black obsidian pendulum. It was gorgeous. And he broke it on Mother's Day last year. I
Oh
have yet to buy
no.
another one. I was like, that was the day I decided, well, this is a sign. Every pendulum either goes missing or is broken. And it was gorgeous and super hard to have found.
Mhm.
And I was like, I'm never going to spend $50 on a pendulum again. I was like, I
Yeah,
don't need this. And then that was in the moment I was like, I could be mad on Mother's Day. And I was pretty pissed. But,
yeah.
and then I was like, this is a sign that I need to let that go.
Mhm.
And I don't use pendulums at all. I just use my third eye now. And like pendulums are tools, but like, yeah, totally.
Yeah. And my boys, like, they now are calmer because of me. So like I've noticed that like if there's a situation where things are getting kind of crazy, they're fighting a lot, like we'll just sit down and they have no idea that Reiki is going on. I do, however. And it's just amazing like that you can see that transformation for them too. Like I said, they're total crystal babies. My oldest, especially, he is very much an empath. And I feel like that has amplified for me and our relationship simply because of the fact that like I do practice Reiki with him and I do like he feeds off of that too.
Ollie's already Reiki tuned. These are some of the crystals in the
I love
background,
it.
but I need to have my crystal grid out in all of the crystals so that he can at least come in my office and be like, he took one to bed last night and I found it underneath a pillow and it was just like,
Oh.
okay, this is my amethyst. It's fine. But only smooth ones are allowed in the bed, like, like
Right.
a stone. So
Mhm.
do you have, before we go, is there any advice you have for expecting moms, and since you're a seasoned mama and you're about to be a family of 5 babies, can you give any advice to any expecting moms for the upcoming birth and postpartum?
Other than to book their first session with you ASAP.
Okay. Stop
um
it. But I receive that.
I would say live in the moment with it.
Such good
I feel
advice.
I feel like that's something I've not done so much with her just because I had a lot of fear with it, even though I know I shouldn't. Just because I did have late term miscarriages.
You've had trauma. You've had significant
Yes.
trauma, so don't dismiss that.
Yes. And I think because she's a girl, because everything has been so different, I'm like, oh, is this a good or a bad different? And so part of me is sad because I feel like I've missed out on some of like the journey with it. And so just
Mm.
even in the last couple of weeks, like I've tried to be more present in the situation. I mean, I felt her move at like 10 weeks. Like it wasn't
It's
external, of
crazy
course,
early.
but I remember laying in bed and I was like doing Reiki on my stomach. And I'm like,
Maybe
I know
stable
you just
pregnant.
flipped in there. I know you did. And so I'm really hoping that like she comes out with some of that as well because like I
Oh, she
constantly
definitely will. She definitely
am doing
will.
that. Yeah.
When we meet in our session, something that I've been able to do, like as I do work with pregnancy moms,
Uh-huh.
what developed over the past few months is that I'm able to scan the chakras of the baby in the womb. And I wasn't able to do that. Or it was like when I was giving, Actually, it was with one of my clients. Her name is Belkis, and she did a podcast interview,
Uh-huh.
and she won't mind me sharing this story. Is that I was doing Reiki on her. She lived in Florida. It was distance Reiki over Zoom, and I felt Noah talk to me through the womb. So I'm able to talk to the babies that are in the womb, and he's like, scan my chakras. There's 2 that are blocked, and and then he just talked to me and explained. He goes, and it was his spirit that said, you'll be able to do this from now on. And it never occurred to me to scan the chakras of an in utero baby. Like
Right.
it was never a thought to do that before. And all of the pregnant moms I had worked with, he was the first one. And he's also a Reiki baby, meaning like she was in our coaching program, and she conceived during my Heal Your Womb coaching program. And he's like, there was 2 chakras that were blocked, and they were also mirroring her. And then he goes, this chakra will be, he goes, this one hurts sometimes. And it was his throat chakra. And then he goes, he goes, this will be the one that I'll need to work on for the rest of my life. So that we come into this lifetime with a purpose. And usually we have a super strength chakra, but there's usually one that you perpetually have to work on healing. Like mine has been the womb. That's why I'm a womb healer, and my throat. And he's like, and he goes, so please tell her that she's going to need to introduce different styles of communication with me, that one style of communication won't work. So I convey this to her, and she goes, oh my God. I was like, these 2 other chakras will clear up as soon as you heal yours. And that was the first time that had happened. So every pregnancy after, I asked permission to the baby, can I scan you? And then we open the communication. It's such a different, more in-depth mediumship than I ever had before. And it just keeps getting better and better. And just knowing that information and giving that to the mom, that is such good things to know as a mother. Like, okay, my baby is going to, and then I had one mom that was skeptical. I was like, then take it with a grain of salt. Wait 2 years from now when baby is talking, or when they're 3, just keep it in the back of your head. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I'm just letting you know that, like, these are ways that you can better parent them. Their soul is going to need this. Not a single person has told me that I'm wrong yet. And I doubt that they will. Not that it's being cocky, but it's the communication directly from the soul. And then people also ask, how do I better that? I was like, just be an expert in your child. Don't be an expert in parenting. Just be an expert in knowing what your child's cues are, in understanding the essence of who they are and what they need. And then you won't have any problem. Do what feels good for your relationship and your connection, not necessarily what's in a parenting book. So that might look baby wearing, that might look like safe co-sleeping, that might be formula feeding, that might be you only holding them, or maybe, I don't know, you taking a vacation 6 months after they're born and you leaving them with grandma, who knows? But like, just always just honor your energy, and, you know, explore the connection between you and baby will always leave you better off. So I want to thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited. Do you have a name picked out?
We do
I'm putting
not.
you on the spot. You can totally tell me to fly a kite.
No, because we don't, because we can't agree. And I have specifically told my husband, when I go get Reiki, I'm not going to tell you names, but like, we have said names to her.
Wait, do you want me to come up with one?
I want you to see if she has
Letter
any.
K.
Yes. Letter K. Okay.
Letter K.
I don't know that we have a name at this point with the letter K, but we have argued about it a lot. And I'm like, I bet you
just haven't
Carolina's
found the
gonna
right one yet. It'll come and it'll strike you both. It'll come very clearly.
Yes.
It's the letter K though.
Okay.
It starts with the letter K. That's what she's telling me.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. I'm so excited now.
Don't be afraid to use a name that's been done before.
Okay. That's good to know.
Like, it's almost going to be like somebody you're going to name her after, or you're going to flip through a book, and it may not be necessarily like a baby name book, but it'll pop up and you'll be like, that's the name. And then you'll tell your husband and he'll be like, yeah, that's it.
That's it.
I don't think it's going to be difficult. So just know any arguing, just stop, because that's not the name.
Okay. That's good to know. Cause I told him, I was like, when I go see Carolina on my birthday, like we're going to have this conversation.
No need, but she's not giving me, but it'll start with the letter K.
Okay. Now I feel like I need to go look.
She said that she will lead you through it, but it will be from flipping through a book. So
okay. That's good to know. Awesome.
Well, I'm going to let you go back to your day. You've been nothing but so kind to come out here, and we're so grateful for your story. We wish you the best of luck with your pregnancy, blissfulness in that, a safe delivery, and all of your birth dreams that you do, and a very happy, balanced, restorative postpartum. I don't think that it'll be that hard because you're local, and I'm just going to be kind of up in your cheese anyway. I get snuggles with the little Reiki baby.
100%.
100%. So, oh, and I have a hookup with really fantastic, what are those cookies for lactation cookies?
Cookies. Oh yes. Cause that's something that like I'm excited / nervous about, but yeah.
Oh, girlfriend, I breastfed for 4 years. I got this for you. Don't worry. I'll be over there. Like my
Awesome.
service is done, but I can totally help you. Hamburger hold all the way. If you know what that is, then you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
All right, you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.